Started the show off. Started the week off, really, by saying and asking the question, what starts football? What starts getting you in the mood for football season? You know, for me, we talked about the video game. We talked about, meaning college football 26 now, which comes out actually on July the 7th. If you pre-order, you probably need to pre-order by now if you're going to get it on July the 7th. Nevertheless, for me, we talked about a couple of things. And, you know, I had been thinking about that same question all week. What gets people in the mood for college football? Some of you never are out of the mood of college football for what it's worth. I'm technically, I guess, one of those people. We talk about it year-round, not only on this show, but Rufino and Joe's show. But I should have known better, because this week I did a breakdown on Wednesday, I guess yesterday, did a breakdown of way too early kind of breakdown of LSU versus Clemson. And in that breakdown, you would have thought that I said that LSU was getting blown out by 50. Didn't remotely come close to saying that. Went back and listened to the entire thing. As much as I hate listening to myself actually talk, oh, no, he doesn't. This guy's a narcissist. I'm serious. I do not go back and listen to these episodes. Not remotely close. I guess I should have said, starting on Monday, the way that I know that football season's back is all of the comments that start flying into the chat. Because, my God, it was mid-season form. Mid-season form. For the love of God, Clemson sucks. We're better than them. Okay, well, you very well may be better than them, but I don't know if they suck. Also brings back the reality of what LSU fans and just fans in general do in reference to not giving an opponent or other teams and looking at them fairly for who and what they are versus who you go up, or who you are and the way that you go up against them. It's interesting to me. I love football more than anything, man, really and truthfully. And it just comes to a part where it's like, I should have known better. It makes me glad that those comments are in there, though, because it does mean that we're getting closer to the overall college football season. So tonight, not a lot of topics, but a lot of discussion. This week and next week, tonight we'll be doing an offensive review. Well, we've done stuff like this, and we've done something exactly like this 7 months ago when LSU was done with the portal, or they were getting started in the portal, I guess you could say technically, was LSU. So maybe even 6 months ago, technically. 6 months ago, we gave a way too early offensive preview. Tonight, we're going to talk about what I think LSU can do and can be on offense. Next week, we're going to do defense. And then the following Monday, guess what? It's SEC Media Days. Brian Kelly is up first at SEC Media Days, and the season will, I guess, technically, officially be kicked off, and we will be off to the races. So tonight, we will break down the LSU offense, things that they've been great at, pieces that they've added where I think it makes them very dangerous, things that they need to work on. We'll go through last season. We'll talk about last season and things that got to get better from a staff, play calling, but things that you added that might make it better. We'll go through all of that here tonight. We'll go around your SEC. So something that we did last season around this time, and we're going to do it again, is a lot of you didn't like that we went around the SEC and talked about other opponents and other teams. Since there's 16 teams 15 teams really, that because we're not going to just break down LSU around your SEC segment, we're going to every week talk about an SEC opponent. I'm going to try to really focus in on some of the opponents that we face more than like Texas or Georgia, because on this show, we're not facing them. And if we face them, the only way that we would face them would be in the playoff or in the SEC championship game. Tonight, we're going to talk a lot about Ole Miss and Texas A&M and the 5-10 maybe even 15-minute segment. We're going to talk about Ole Miss and Texas A&M tonight. We'll continue to talk about a lot of those opponents that we face here this season. So not a lot of topics, but a lot of discussion, I promise you, that we will get into. And if we have time at the end to wrap up the week, the day before the 4th of July, America's birthday, we will get to those as well. Toki says, yo, but with an EAUX and a like surfing. I don't even know. What does this mean? What does this mean? I know it means like, yo, I'm sure it means something, but what does it mean? But Taki, good to have you in here. Todd Davis says, go Tigers. How about running the same offense we did in 2019? Well, if it was that simple, I think that we would, but I don't necessarily disagree. Andrew's in the building, says, let's go. Good to have you in here tonight with us. Alexandra Marie says, hey, Blake, watching from Corpus Christi, Texas, via the 318. 3-1, great. Good to have you in the building. Is that Ben Wallace? No, it's just Stephen Fry. I don't know if I really told the entire public what I think I maybe did. But Stephen Fry, good friends over at Fry Construction, 337-457-5100. 337-457-5100. Dirt work, oil and gas services, whatever you need out there in Eunice, in the 337. Y'all got to call up. Y'all know Fry Construction. Everybody's walking up to Stephen and everybody. Oh, we know who y'all are. Of course y'all do. But Ben Wallace is in the hizzy. The 337 is in the hizzy. Ben Wallace is in the hizzy. Here's an inside joke. My friend Stephen and I were in Omaha a couple of weeks ago. And when we were in Omaha at Blatt's, a 6'8" dude, 6'7", 6'8", with a massive afro is walking past us. He's a security guard at Blatt's. This is the Sunday after LSU wins the national title. And without missing a beat, Stephen goes, is that Ben Wallace? And the dude turns around. And for a brief second, I'm not going to lie, my butthole got tight. Pause. I'm like, uh-oh, we about to get kicked out. We're about to get kicked out. But he did look exactly like Ben Wallace. Somewhere in Omaha, Nebraska, there's a guy that's 6'8" with a massive fro that looks exactly like Ben Wallace that is not Ben Wallace. And he looked at Stephen. I'm like, here we go. 337 versus Omaha. Here we go. We're about to get in here. But he did. He looked exactly like Ben Wallace. I don't know why he wouldn't take that as a compliment, to be honest with you. Why wouldn't you take that as a compliment? People too serious. Spectrum Wellcare says, still riding that baseball national championship high. Yeah, and you should be. You should be. Look, man, I mean, I am too. The other day, Ben wanted to watch the Arkansas game, the second Arkansas game in Omaha. And, just because, look, when I was going stupid and he was going stupid, my daughter was going stupid, when Luis Hernandez hit the ball out to left field to Davalon and he missed it. And we were all going, the Rufino household was going dumb. I mean, absolutely dumb. But, yeah, he watched it the other day. It gives me chills thinking about it. It also kind of makes me a little sad in the sense that some of these guys that you might not ever see again in some regard. Daniel Bentley says, hey, Blake, talked about Calvin Russell. You talked about Calvin Russell yesterday. Rumor is LSU is back off. He is down to Michigan, Syracuse, Oregon. LSU is after top 10 wide receiver Chase Matthews. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, and Daniel, this is how we do things in reference to recruiting. I don't care what LSU tells you. I don't care what any services tell you. If you think that they're not wanting Calvin Russell and Calvin Russell didn't tell them no to some extent, it's being thrown in there. Chase Matthews, I don't know, I'm pretty sure we didn't leave out Chase Matthews. Maybe we did. But they will be going after other receivers. 3 weeks ago, we talked about Booby Feaster, great first name, but Booby Feaster and USC. And listen, I talked about 3 weeks ago, Booby Feaster and USC, and I got laughed at in the comment section. You laughing now? Mm-hmm. Yeah, but Chase Matthews, another one that you could look at too. Randy says, you're right, Spectrum Wellcare, going off the baseball high. Jalen Says, out here in Valdosta, Georgia, repping the 318. Side note, I'm actually high on maybe our O-line this year. Sloan is my only concern, literally. Well, two things here. Number one, where is everybody watching from tonight? Are you in the 318? Are you in Valdosta, Georgia, like Jalen is here? Where are you watching from? Love seeing where everybody is listening from. High on our offensive line. Let's go there. We're going to go. Actually, you know what? Let's do this. We're going to talk about the offensive line a lot tonight in our offensive breakdown or offensive preview, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to save my thoughts for that. But the general consensus from some would be you're losing Emory Jones, you're losing Miles Frazier, you're losing Garrett Dellinger, you're losing Will Campbell. And the question becomes, are you better when you lose two top 50 picks? That is ultimately the question. Daniel Williams says, Lamar Brown, what do you think? We talked about it last night. I mean, let's see what happens on the 10th. And I really like where LSU currently sits here. Tech Venom 88 says 804 Richmond, Virginia's in the building. Good to have Richmond, Virginia. Richmond. Official ADs in the 985. Good to have you in here with us. Plain Truth says 337 Lafayette, Louisiana. Stand up. And by the way, speaking of Lafayette, if I'm not mistaken, did they or did they not lose? Did they not lose their pitching coach? Did they not lose their pitching coach and go to Southern? And then he went to Southern Miss. That's literally an upgrade. For Southern Miss. Not Southern Miss. It's literally an upgrade for him to go to Southern Miss over staying at ULL. TC says, what do you think of Kalaj Cobbins? I think Kalaj could be one of these guys at edge that this is what I said, TC, in my humble opinion, when we saw him during spring. I don't know if from a starting perspective this year that Kalaj Cobbins can be an every down player, considering the fact that you brought in Jamari Butler, that you brought in Patrick Payton, that you brought in Jack Pyburn, and I do think Gabe Relaford has moved himself into that mix. However, I do think that Kalaj Cobbins, for what it's worth, showed some really dominating things during spring. I think that he has shown the speed at the edge that could set him apart on certain situations. The question becomes is if Kalaj Cobbins has a big August, meaning camp, does he find himself in certain situations on third down? I think Kalaj needs to really focus in on that specific thing because he will see the field instantly with that. Personally, love the way he rushed the passer. I mean, speed killed. I mean, I remember one practice where he beat Tyree Adams twice just off of pure speed, getting to the outside. I will say there were some instances where I thought that he could have been a little bit better in the run game, but the edge unit, the edge rush unit, guys, you're too deep for what it's worth. Might be Cobbins, Butler, and Dylan Carpenter, who I thought didn't do bad either at edge. I do think that the edge position is the best position group on all of LSU's, and I have been very vocal about this, by the way, TC. Extremely vocal on this from the start of camp until, well, even before the start of camp. I think it's overall your best position group. I know that Harold Perkins, technically, now stay with me, I do think that Harold Perkins being moved to star, a.k.a. safety, the way that they use that star position, I'm not even throwing him into a safety position. I think it's its own position in and of itself. Considering the fact that LSU used that star position to send blitzes 50% of the time, Pro Football Focus's analytics on that, I don't know if you don't throw him into that mix a little bit too. I do think Blake Baker, for what it's worth, could use Kalaj Cobbins in certain situations, and I think his speed would help. Very, very much help. Dustman, he said he was in the same hometown as our good friend Sean Fox from up there in the 318-31 Great. Yeah, we go on with Puffy, his dad, every morning on Mondays around 7:15 a.m. You can listen in. We'll be there probably this Monday as well. Willie King says, checking in from Forney, Texas, not to be mistaken by its cousin Horny, Texas, by the way of the 318-31 Great. All right, I already messed up on a Thursday. But one thing is for sure, I'm glad you're in here watching with us. SW is in Breaux Bridge, Louisiana, and Ali Landry was from Breaux Bridge, says Todd Davis. Yeah, Breaux Bridge, man. Got a lot of really good alumni and a lot of great people that come from Breaux Bridge, Louisiana. All right, let's get to it here. Everybody do us a favor. Hit the like and share. Share to all those groups. If you're on Facebook and to all those social media pages, you're watching us, listening to us on YouTube. Like, subscribe, notification bell, wherever you listen to podcasts. Rate, review, and subscribe. Let's talk about, though, before we get rolling, our good friends over at Section 103, where they have more comfortable attire than those club seats that you're sitting in. Guys, the white hat that I wore the other day, the shirts, the national championship shirts that they have for LSU, they fit perfectly. I'm a big dude, but I'm telling you, the material, the shirts, they fit fantastic. The hats, they look legit. They fit legit. Go over to section103.com. That's section103.com. Click on the LSU section. Go shopping for yourself and get that national championship shirt because I'm sure they're running out and will be running out soon. Use the promo code AYS. That's AYS at checkout. You'll get a 10% off of your order at checkout. That's section103.com where their gear. Dude, let me just do this. I was going to go to a break. Guys, their shirts are legit. I worn a couple to the gym. They fit great. The material's great. Y'all need to get over there, man. I'm telling you. Steven and the guys really do a great job over there at Section 103. It's absolutely freaking fantastic. All right, let's get moving here. Let me get to a quick break. When we come back, we'll do an offensive review of LSU next. Stay with us. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to wager on all of your favorite sports, contests, events with the first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews for all the news for each league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, college sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports information for live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head on over to BetOnline today and use your mobile device to join and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BELIEVE50, that's BELIEVE50, BLEAV 50, to receive your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's betonline.ag, betonline.ag.
He will sell your house and find you a new. Well, Tyler's the man, he's here for you. If you want to buy or sell, well, it's not too late. Dial 955-0008. Just call 955-0008. Y'all call Tyler, he'll shoot you straight.
Guys, let me tell you about our good friends over at Grand Slam Heating and Air, where your comfort is their top priority. At Grand Slam Heating and Air, they promise to provide customers with high-quality HVAC service at an affordable price while ensuring the homeowner peace of mind. From their office to your home, they guarantee the best hassle-free experience around. Efficiency and comfort is their game. Let them make your home Grand Slam today. At Grand Slam Heating and Air, they're offering their annual maintenance plan starting off at $18.75 a month and also doing those $99 tune-up promotion. They provide free estimates for system and ductwork replacement, as well as offering financing to get the job done with no money up front. From Baton Rouge to Hammond to Covington, they're all around. So what you need to do today, give them a call at 225-380-9065. That's 225-380-9065. Or go over to their website, getgrandslamair.com. That's getgrandslamair.com, where your comfort is their top priority. We're back. dokie. Two things before we get rolling here. Javon Jackson with a $2 super chat. Thank you so much. He says, do you think A.J. Halsey starts week 1 against Clemson? Yes, I do. Here's the thing. There are a couple of things that I think with A.J. Halsey. I don't think A.J. Halsey's scared of shit. I mean, look, you had A.J. Halsey come into Death Valley as a freshman and run down Jaden Daniels and knock him out for a drive because of the way Jaden fell down in a certain situation. We've seen him go up and make some big hits in the Big Ten. Yeah, I do think, considering the way that you went after him, how you went after him, yes, I do think that he's going to start. Now, there can easily be a situation where he gets into fall camp and we're coming in here and saying, I don't anticipate that is going to happen. But guys, there might not be at the end of the day. Now, there are a lot of positions that need to hit here. I think Josh Thompson, Braylon Moore might be the biggest commitments because of necessarily what you need at the offensive line position and being able to run the football, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But I don't know if you're not looking up in December. And how about this? You could be sitting with your family at Thanksgiving. You could be sitting with your family at dinner during Christmas Eve or Christmas. And you're all starting to talk about LSU and you're all starting to talk about sports. I don't know how y'all's family works, but we always going to talk sports around the Ruffino household. It's always coming up. I wonder if at the end of this, that when you're in November or December, that you're not talking about how massive A.J. Halsey's been for your team. Like the biggest portal addition that you have. Guys, safety play has been horrendous the last 2 years. It's been dog water. It has been absolutely horrific. Very well could. I hope that he does. That means that you hit. That's what that means. All right. Another thing before we get rolling on this offensive breakdown. I see that I pissed a lot of you off. I pissed you off yesterday on social media, and I pissed you off again today or last night in reference to this ads or patches on jerseys. Guys, let me just say this. I don't give a shit that you're mad. Some of you. I could give a shit. Because there's a fine line of like listening to the fan base and what the fan base wants. I could be wrong in sensing on what the fan base wants. Guys, I'm sorry if you don't want the patches on the jerseys for advertisements because a house settlement case dictates that Scott Woolward and company have to pay $20.5 million. Guys, I'm sorry. You're just all wrong on this one. You're going to have to suck it up. Welcome to being an adult. Some of you that don't run businesses and are just employees, some of you don't understand the problems that they have. You're going to have to get over. And let me tell you, I was trying to be a smart ass today, and I know this one kind of went mini viral, but guys, when Joe Burrow in 2019 threw his 4th touchdown pass to Justin Jefferson in that game, no one gave a shit that he had a Chick-fil-A patch on the jersey. No one's going to give a shit if you're winning. Guys, the only thing that I care about, the only thing that you care about is winning. Guys, it's not a great place for college athletics. It's not a great place. Now, you could, if you're in the boat that you think it's a great place for athletics because players are getting paid and, well, schools like LSU don't get to hold on to $100 million worth of TV revenue money and players actually get a piece of that, which I think that they do deserve to get a piece of that, then fine. And Football Scoop came out and said that it's because LSU's doing it, it's not LSU's jerseys. It's the players' jerseys when they bleed in them. They buy the fucking jerseys. LSU does all the maintenance and all the equipment. The players are getting TV revenue money with none of the debt that comes along with any of that, which is great for them. Y'all need to spare me on some of this fake outrage that y'all have. Guys, right here, I have the Yankees and Toronto Blue Jays game on. Yankees, I mean, I remember this like it was yesterday. The New York Yankees sold an ad patch on their jersey. Guess what? It's not going to be on the jersey that you buy. It's not going to do it. They needed money to pay Aaron Judge. Guess what? Aaron Judge is going to be very close to winning the MVP again. Doesn't matter, man. It doesn't. He had a home run to tie the game last night. You think that the Steinbrenners were sitting there saying, oh, are any Yankee fans like, oh, well, that stupid fucking patch? Nobody's going to say that. You'll get over it. Sorry. I know a lot of you, it rubs you a lot of you the wrong way, but the bottom line is it's not going to matter. Get to a playoff and you'll be fine. All right. So last year we did this right before SEC Media Days, and I wanted to do it again. This week we're going to be breaking down the offense, doing another offensive review. See, when we went through spring, we talked about what we were seeing during spring offensively. How do the receivers look? Has Josh Thompson, who came into spring a little bit late, what does he look like? What does the new left tackle position with Tyree Adams look like? What does so many things look like with Braylon Moore potentially at center? Is DJ Chester there? We were talking about so many other things. Guys, now it starts getting very real here. Now, next week we're going to do defense. I probably should have just started off with defense first because people hate when I talk about the offense. I guess it doesn't really matter. We're getting to both of them. But tonight we're going to break down the offense. We're going to give an offensive preview of how I think things are going to go even before camp even starts. Let's get to it. Now, last year, LSU had the 25th total offense in the country. They had the 7th best passing offense in the country. They were top 3rd in the country in passing attempts, by the way. They were 7th in the country in third down offense. But there were some bugaboos that they had. They were 47th in the country in scoring offense, 73rd in the country in red zone offense, and probably the worst statistic that I've ever seen an offense have for LSU in quite some time was LSU was 107th in the country in rushing. Now, we're going to get to the rushing stuff, and we're going to get to the running the football stuff in a moment. In December and January, LSU made a conscious effort to go out offensively and get some other weapons. They made an effort to go out and get Barian Brown from Kentucky, who I think is one of the more electric players in the SEC. You went out and got Nick Anderson from Oklahoma that even with him battling injury, you're foreshadowing that he can come in here post-injury and do some really good things for you. You went out and got another Oklahoma player in Bauer Sharp that has Louisiana ties, who's played in this state before, and now comes back to potentially be a massive part of the offense, along with Tre'Davious Green at tight end. You went out in the portal and you got Braylon Moore. You went out in the portal and you got Josh Thompson to help solidify some of the things that you've really needed and what you really need along that offensive line. The number one thing that when I look at LSU offensively on paper going into the season, with some of the pieces that you brought in at receiver with Barian Brown, with Nick Anderson, with Destin Hill, and at tight end with Bauer Sharp, with some of the returning guys that you have as well, like Aaron Anderson, who last year had 61 catches for 884 yards and 5 touchdowns, with Chris Hilton, who at the end of the season exploded with 3 massive touchdowns in the last 2 games for LSU, coupling that with an athletic freak at tight end with Tre'Davious Green, who on the season did have 13 catches for 101 yards, but of those 13 catches, 4 of them went for touchdowns. On paper, and why I think people are so high on LSU offensively, it's got to do with a lot that LSU did in December and January with getting some of the guys at receiver. Now you couple that with Garrett Nussmeier in year 2 returning, the standard and hype around this team offensively is very high. And guys, quite honestly, it deserves to be very high. The speed that you're going to have on the outside, the position group that you have at tight end, the athleticism that you have at tight end. Guys, I do think that I could come in here and make an argument that around the league that LSU, talent v. talent, has the overall best units from a pass receiving standpoint in the SEC. I don't know if I can do that in the country with some of the other teams that have some really talented wide receivers. But in the SEC, I feel comfortable that even if maybe they're second or third, I feel like I could have the debate that they could be there. Garrett Nussmeier, along with the receivers, is a big deal with that. Now, everyone knows what Garrett did last year. In 525 passing attempts, he completed 64% of his passes. He had 4,052 yards with 29 passing touchdowns, 12 interceptions. He had 3 rushing touchdowns, but he also lost 5 fumbles. In that, going into Garrett's second year, with the receivers in the production that you have returning with Aaron Anderson, with some things when healthy that you've seen from Chris Hilton, the things that you saw in the 3 years with Barry and Brown at Kentucky, the things that you believe that a former 5-star in Trey'Dez Green could be at tight end, a lot of people believe, and the fan base believes, and that's where the hype comes in. Damn, dude, this team could really do and be something special. I don't really disagree. You see, offensively, I do believe that your best overall unit, the best unit that you probably have, and I want a couple tight ends into this, is easily your pass catchers. Easily. Because Barry and Brown, in his career at Kentucky, has 122 catches, 1,528 yards, 11 touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns, and 5 kick and punt return touchdowns combined that lead the SEC and was an SEC record. Because he is as explosive as it comes. Chris Hilton and Aaron Anderson as explosive as it comes. Last year, you were in a situation where you went out and got C.J. Daniels. You had Kyron Lacy that returned. And you never really had a guy that could take the top off of the defense when Chris Hilton went down. Now you're littered with ultra-talented dudes. And by the way, I haven't even brought up Nick Anderson, who, if healthy, could be a massive playmaker for you. If you're asking me going into the season, after Garrett had a 4,000-yard season with 29 touchdowns a season ago passing, Blake, do you think it can be better? Oh, heavens, yes, I think it could be better, and I think it will be better. If given the time, which we'll get to that in just a moment, if given the time, I think that for Garrett's skill set, the players and pieces that you brought in are better for what he wants to do versus having 2 big body possession receivers like you did a season ago. Because Garrett wants to rip this thing. Now, we saw last year when Chris actually got involved and just wasn't running go routes, like I think the slant route that went for 18 yards against A&M, as an example. Teams were playing off of you so much that when you started throwing the ball underneath to these very fast playmakers that are returning, that it benefited you, and you're adding Barry and Brown into that mix. You're adding a guy that really can fly, even though as big as he is, and Nick Anderson, because the sky can and should be the limit for them. Now, offensively in the pass game, there is something that you have to overcome. Only going to use one sentence in this, because if you watch this show, you know what it is. You got to reduce the turnovers. See, if you do reduce that, I do think that there could be a scenario where, man, you can be dangerous there. Garrett takes that next step. You got explosiveness all over the place. That, guys, if you got Barry and Brown on one boundary, Chris Hilton on another, and Trey Green lurking in the middle of the field, teams are going to have to play off of you. I don't know if I see a world. Now, there can be some teams that can come up and play some bump and run with you if they got the speed that you do at receiver. There's not going to be many. But the thing about this team is you are so talented at the wide receiver position. You have so much explosiveness and speed on the outside that you are going to dictate things that they're going to have to do. You know, last year I felt like LSU offensively was doing things based off of what the defense was dictating to them, not the other way around. See, I felt like that the play calling was in a situation where that you were trying to do things because the defenses were checking out and doing some specific things, and you were trying to be perfect on every play instead of going out there and saying, hey, we're just going to run our shit and you better stop it. And a lot of times it bit you in the rear end. Now, you do bring back Caden Durham. You do bring in a really good freshman class offensively where there may be some of these guys that you need to use during the season. How much is Harlem Berry involved in the passing game will be a question that we'll find out a little bit more in August and definitely throughout the season. But that's another young man that's very explosive and got top-notch speed. Because if you're asking, which some of you have, and you can go to the chat for the video from Service Hawk last night, there was like 4 comments in that chat, whether it be via Facebook or whether it be on YouTube, was, Blake, should we believe the hype? Offensively, I 100% feel that you should believe, I'm not going to say hype, you should believe in the outright potential of what they could be. Guys, if you get a unit, if you get a situation where Garrett does turn those turnovers down, if you get in a situation where that you have 2 really explosive receivers on the outside with a healthy Nick Anderson and Trey Green, Gus, it might be the best overall unit from a pass-catching unit in the country. Fully believe that. You do got to go out there and prove it. But it won't be for naught if there are some things that you cannot clean up outside of the turnovers. Now, the offensive line, for me, is by far the biggest overall question mark. I know that we talked about this a lot in spring. I know we talked about it literally every day. Every day that we went out to practice, we would come in here and talk about what we saw and how things went and everything that went on. And every single episode, damn near, and every single practice report really revolved around the offensive line. Because, guys, quite honestly, they got beat up. There is a chink right now in the armor of what we've seen. Now, can that change come August the 3rd? Very well can change. Or August the 4th. When we're out there in the first practice, we go out there and look at the offensive line and say, hey, man, they made some changes. Guys had some big off seasons. And off the races we go, man, this unit may be very good. Guys, that could very well be the case. Let's talk about it as of right now and as we've seen it for right now. I can't predict the future. But right now, this offensive line does worry me. Now, in spring, you ran out with a unit with Tyree Adams at left guard, Paul Mabinga at left tackle, for Tyree Adams, Paul Mabinga at left guard, DJ Chester at center. You would switch around with Bo Bordelon and Cohen Eccles at right guard, and Weston Davis would be your right tackle. That is not going to be your offensive line in week 1. I do think that LSU, for what it's worth, along the offensive line more than any other position group, maybe outside of receiver. you played a lot of what I like to call, quote unquote, portal politics, where you wanted to give guys who had been in the program and guys that you recruited like Cohen Eccles, Bo Bordelon, and Paul Mabenga a chance to win the job. You gave a guy like Weston Davis, who is a freshman, the chance to be better and show that he can start every down at right tackle. And guys, that front unit in the spring just got worked over. If Garrett is under pressure like he was in the spring, you're in trouble. You're in massive trouble. Now, here's the good news. I don't think that that's going to be the case. Here's why. The offensive line, depending on what happens or where these guys are, this is a rough estimate for me of what I think your starting offensive line is going to be. I think Tyree Adams is going to start at left tackle. Either DJ Chester or Josh Thompson is going to start at left guard. Braylon Moore will be at center. Josh Thompson or DJ Chester will be at right guard. So flip them either which way. And Weston Davis, barring injury for all of them, will be at right tackle. Guys, the last day of practice and even during the spring game, LSU did not want to waste any more time with putting Josh Thompson in at guard. You brought him in from the portal. You got to find a way to utilize him. Now, on the offensive line, I do think that there is an X factor in all of this. That X factor is Carius Kern. Guys, Carius Kern came into LSU as a freshman out of Arkansas, and I got to be honest with you, I was blown away by what I saw from Carius Kern. I do not believe that Carius Kern is a left tackle where Brad Davis had him, and I don't think that he should ever have another rep at left tackle at LSU ever again. I think you need to put him at guard, and you need to tell a very strong and a guy that can be a very talented offensive lineman, you need to compete for that left guard or right guard starting position. LSU and Brad Davis did a very good job in bringing in two highly talented, the top two interior offensive line in the country from the high school ranks in recruiting a season ago. The X factor in all of this could be Carius Kern. There is always a concern when you start two true freshmen along the offensive line, especially in the interior, because of the overall strength that this young man is going to have to endure from some very talented and experienced defensive linemen. Guys, I don't think that there's going to be a lot of people that bully Carius Kern, though. I don't want to say that he gives me Will Campbell type of vibes. I don't want to go there. But if you would have seen what I saw from Carius Kern during the spring in some of these situations, you would say, I don't know if there's a better interior offensive lineman better than him. Because, guys, quite honestly, there wasn't. He is an X factor. Guys, I have absolutely no idea what to make of this offensive line. None. I do think Tyree Adams did some good things. I thought Weston Davis, for what it's worth at right tackle, had some moments. But, guys, they gave up a lot of pressures. They gave up a lot of situations. They couldn't run the football effectively enough, and the defense won the spring. And that was the first time that we got to see them. I know that I've seen some national guys come out there when talking about LSU and talking about them offensively, and the quote was, and I think even J.D. Pickell at On 3 was the one that said this, I can't see, and this is his quote, I can't see LSU's offensive line being as bad as they were a season ago. Shit. Buddy, that just tells me that you're disconnected from what happened during the spring. That's what it tells me. You're not reading any of these reports, or the reports that he did read were falsehoods because they got their rear end torn up. Coming out of spring, if some of you remember, The one thing that I talked about was there was no bigger unit. None. Didn't exist. There was no bigger unit that needed to have a bigger offseason and summer more than that offensive line. We haven't seen Braylon Moore start at center. We haven't seen him really with DJ Chester at guard. We haven't seen Josh Thompson and where they're going to put him and him inverted into that starting lineup. We have not seen that yet. So in all of that, we could come in here in week 2 and say, hey, man, yeah, they changed the lineup up. They moved around the interior and things got better. Or it's going to be a concern. I want to side on caution with this one because when 2 top 50 picks and a top 5 pick leaves, guys, it's a lot to replace. It is a lot to replace. Which leads me to my next point about what could hold this offense back. Guys, you have not found the ability to run the football. Not only did you not last season until Brian Kelly got involved be able to effectively run the football enough, guys, you just couldn't. You just couldn't. Last year, LSU was 107th in the country in rushing offense. 107th. It was the worst in the last 2 decades. There had not been a team in the last 2 decades at LSU from a rushing perspective that finished 107. There had not been an LSU team that finished past the 80s, much less in the hundreds. You were not good there. Guys, if your offensive line and if your run game and schematically you are not better, I don't care what happens with Garrett. I don't care what happens with the explosiveness at wide receiver. You're in trouble. You are in trouble. Now, there will be some of you that will be in here in the live show tonight and some of you that will watch this short clip and say to yourself, here he goes again. He's being negative. Guys, it's not negative. When I was out there and saw it with my own eyes and became reality, and then some of you that went to the spring game said, guys, we gave up 6 sacks in 1/2 of football, and I said, told you. The offensive line is a concern. Garrett did talk about in the offseason getting stronger in his lower half to run the ball more. He better. You're going to have to give him enough time to take some shots down the field and connect on them and let teams back off of you. Joe Sloan and this staff has got to be better at designing up plays to run the football. He does. Not all of this last year was on the offensive line. It wasn't. You know, there were multiple times last season where I would pull up still shots of running backs missing the hole. There were times last year when you're running to the short side of the field and the defense has more numbers on the short side of the field than on the wide side of the field, and you're running right into a situation where you don't have enough guys to block and you're running the football right at them with an open defender. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit more, but that has got to be cleaned up. It has got to be cleaned up. Because if it's not, then, guys, I don't know what to tell you. There are 3 massive factors for me. I guess we can get into it now. Actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 massive factors for me when it comes down to LSU offensively. Number 1, you are replacing 4 offensive linemen. Can you protect Garrett Nussmeier, and can you run the football? Guys, I think of teams that made the playoff last year. I think of national title teams, teams that had great success and great offenses. What do all of them have in common? Guys, Ohio State could run the football a year ago. Michigan could run the football. Georgia could run the football. You in 2019 could run the football. Alabama could run the football. That was a massive crux of their offense. You know, for us LSU fans, remember 2019 and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Do you remember it? Because I sure as hell do. The biggest question mark for this team offensively is that offensive line and running the football. And I don't think that they're non-linked. I think they're completely linked. If you're not in the top 50s of rushing and running the football, you're not going to get where you want to go. Doesn't exist. There will be times and in situations like you were in a season ago that if you can't line up on fourth down and get a yard, you will lose some games. You know, I think of South Carolina a year ago where you got to the goal line and you couldn't get a yard on 4 downs. Horrible play calling, but you couldn't get a yard on the inside dive run. I think of when you went up against Ole Miss, schematically, LSU went for it on a 4th down, and they ran an inverted veer, a zone read inverted veer with Caleb Jackson and Garrett Nussmeier. I remember against Alabama in the first half, you go for it on 4th down, and guys, you couldn't get an inch. To be a playoff team, to be a national contending team, there will be many times throughout the season where you just got to line up and punch somebody in their shit and say, this is ours. Come take it. I don't know how to feel about the O-line. That would be my first thought. The second thought is what we started the show off with. I don't know if anybody has more explosiveness than you at wide receiver than you in the SEC. Maybe Texas, maybe. I mean, like, maybe. But even then, man, I don't think that there's anybody more explosive. Nobody has more speed than you. Nobody. Jelani Watkins, Chris Hilton, Berrien Brown, you name it. You got it. You got it, dude. You got elite speed that you want to utilize. I think it's the biggest weapon for you. We have not seen Nick Anderson in over a year. He was hurt. He didn't really practice in spring. He was out there, but he didn't really practice. What can Nick Anderson give you? If Nick Anderson is healthy and he's ready to go, and you're in a situation where you have Chris Hilton, Nick Anderson, Aaron Anderson, and Berrien Brown, guys, I'm sorry, it's the best core unit maybe in the country. So when you talk about the hype being there, you talk about the overall expectations. It is there. It is there. None bigger than at wide receiver. My third thought is this. We have not spent any time on this, but I want to spend some time on it now. Play calling in red zone. Last year, LSU was 73rd in the country in red zone. Guys, offensively, in the red zone, it was some of the worst that I'd ever seen here. I don't think it was as worse as Jake Peets in that year where Ed got fired and everybody got let go. Well, was it? Yeah. That was 2021. I don't know if it was that level of bad. But, man, when we started AYS, there used to be a saying that I actually wanted to like frame me writing this down and put it on the wall, and I never did. Yards mean nothing when you can't convert in the red zone and you can't score points. Nothing else matters. Last year, at the end of the year, Brian Kelly helped take over play calling with Joe Sloan. You saw it. I saw it. The whole world saw it. You went out and got Alex Atkins from Florida State to help with this situation. I do not know how Brian Kelly walks back not being heavily involved in play calling unless Alex Atkins is there and has a play sheet and him and Joe Sloan are doing some things together. You can't walk it back. At least I don't think you can walk it back. Could LSU been a 10-win team last season, even with all of their faults, if they're not 73rd in the red zone? Guys, there are so many faults that we talk about. Turnovers, offensive line, Garrett getting pressured, all of it. Would you have been 10-2 if you could go up against USC in the first drive of the season and score a touchdown on the first drive? Guys, 73rd is not going to cut it. It's not going to cut it. In reference to play calling, I got to be real with you. From a run game perspective, for me, a lot of the decisions that were made a season ago, and we will have to see if these decisions are the same going into year 2 as Joe Sloan is the play caller in the run game, guys. None of it makes sense to me. None of it. None of it. You're doing some zone reads where everybody knows that the quarterback will not keep the football. If you know, which everybody in the country knew, and which Joe Sloan should have known more than anybody, if Garrett was never going to keep a zone read look, why did you keep running it? Why? It makes zero sense to me. Why didn't you go in some power formation and run behind number 66 last year? Because you ran the ball a lot to the right side of the formation. Everybody knew it. That's why they stacked to the right, their left side, but your right side of the formation. Guys, in spring, I saw things that I did not like in the running game. From a schematical standpoint, I don't know why we're not running to the strong side of the formation. I have no clue. None. Play calling has got to get better. I think that when Joe Sloan was asked about the red zone during spring and he got a little snippy with Wilson Alexander, he kind of tried to shoot back. You can shoot back to whoever you want at any given moment. And I like Joe Sloan a lot as a person. But it comes down to a time where, brother, the run game stuff, I don't care what Brian Kelly or anybody on that staff says. Alex Atkins is here, and you pay for him, and you won a battle against the Baltimore Ravens because of the fact that you wanted the situation with Alex Atkins to help you in the run game. Guys, you need it. And you will know on play one, down one, game one, if Alex Atkins is heavily involved, if you're running a lot of counter. Because if you are, that means he's involved. Means he's involved. Because the running back position for me has got to take a massive step forward. The play calling at times was not always as bad as it seemed when running backs were missing holes. Caden Durham being hurt. Caleb Jackson, the vision wasn't there. Can Harlan Berry give you a spark? You got to be better there. But there's other ways to have extensions of the run game. You know, Steve Sarkisian against Ohio State, man, like they could not run the football effectively. Go back and watch the game. So you know what he did? He started throwing the ball to his running backs out of the backfield and getting 4 yards and saying, who gives a shit? 4, 5, 6 yards, who gives a shit? It's just like a run for me. We'll keep throwing it out there if you're going to give us 6 yards every play. They started throwing bubble screens to the wide receivers. And guys, they're 2 yards away. Red zone again. They're 2 yards away from tying Ohio State and potentially taking the lead because if I'm not mistaken, Sark was saying in the postgame that they were going for 2 there. They could have taken the lead and could have beaten Ohio State and played for a national title. I think of the situation where your quarterback's got to be better in the red zone. But, guys, when you get in the red zone, you got to be able to run the football. You got to be able to run the football. I think that the 2 biggest concerns for me goes back to play calling and offensive line. I do think Garrett's going to cut down the turnovers. If there is a third, it would be third for me. If it stays the same, it becomes easily number 1. Because if you're turning the ball over, getting the red zone doesn't matter because you're not going to get there anyway. But, man, it's got to be better. Humbly, I don't know how BK walks it back. I don't know how he walks back taking and helping take over play calling where things were more balanced and got better offensively in the run game and Alex Atkins not be involved. Maybe he is. I hope that he is, but you got to be better there. Last but not least, here's something that I think is interesting. Now, stay with me on this last one before we get out of this segment. I do think ultimately LSU will be better offensively for one reason, and it's got absolutely nothing to do with the offense. I think defensively you're going to get better, and you're going to be better, and you're going to get off the field more, which is going to give you the ball more. If you do what I think that you can do defensively, I do believe that you can be in a situation where, hey, man, all right, this defense is not looking bad at all, and you give yourself extra possessions. Next week, we're going to dive into the defense a lot. And, buddy, there's a lot we got to talk about this defense. Safety, DT. Guys, do you have any idea? All of you are about to lie in this chat right now. All of you are about to lie because I'm going to say, what is your secondary going to look like? And you're going to say, well, our secondary is going to be elite. Have you seen any of them play a snap? I have. Have you? I do think you're going to be better defensively, though, which will give you more possessions. You have the potential to be elite and explosive at wide receiver and at tight end. You have the potential of a second-year quarterback returning and absolutely exploding and having a season like we've seen second-year quarterbacks do at LSU. But there are three levels of concern here. You can deny them all you want to. The fact remains they are there. Guys, the three worst things that you did a season ago. You were 107th in the country in rushing. You were 73rd in the country in red zone. And you were 47th in the country in scoring offense. There's no way around it. And then you get to a place where the offensive line and you're losing a top 5 pick at left tackle. And people thinking that they will just automatically replace a number 5 or top 5 overall pick is lunacy to me. Not to say that Tyree Adams can't be a good left tackle, because he can. But, man, as good as high as the potential could be, there could be a situation where things stay the same because you don't get better in running game in the red zone play calling situations. We'll see. We'll see. All right. Brandon says Sloan knows he'll be on a short leash this year. Guys, I got to be honest with you. To be frank, everybody's on a short leash. If you're going to put Brian Kelly on the hot seat, which some of you already have, which I don't agree with you, that means every coach on this staff is on the hot seat. By the way, they're not. I know some of you want to make the argument that they are. Right now, they are not. They're not. They just aren't. So I know some of you want to say, he doesn't make it to the playoffs, he's on the hot seat. Guys, if he goes 9-3 again, no, he's not. No, he's not. You're not paying $50 million to tell a coach to go away who just keeps going 9-3. It won't happen. Sorry. So anyway, all right. Let me get to a quick break. We'll come back and talk about some teams around the SEC and take your questions. Stay with us. Hey, guys, I want to tell you about our good friends over at Red Stick Financial. They're your local residential mortgage broker located right here in the heart of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. At Red Stick Financial, they find the bank that works for your particular set of needs to purchase the home of your dreams or refinance the current one. They truly are your partners in this process, and they pride themselves in helping individuals and families with one simple goal in mind, and that is to make home financing approachable, attainable, and stress-free. They are licensed in all Louisiana, Texas, and Mississippi. So from Amarillo to Meridian and everything in between, they have you covered. Red Stick Financial brings you creative, customized solutions, and they don't believe in the one-size-fits-all when it comes to loans. They even have special options for mobile and manufactured homes located in a flood zone and stated income financing for those of us who are self-employed borrowers. If you or someone you know is looking to buy a home, refinance an existing mortgage, or simply want to know what options are out there for your future, give Red Stick Financial a call today at 225-407-9250. That's 225-407-9250. Or check them out online at redstickfinancial.com. That's redstickfinancial.com. Before you purchase the home of your dreams or you go and do that refinance, you need to go local. Go Red Stick. Guys, I want to talk to you about our good friends over the Drake Williams Law Firm and Drake Title Company. Are you facing tough times due to an injury from a car accident, navigating the complexities of divorce, or purchasing a new home? At the Drake Williams Law Firm and Drake Title Company, they understand the challenges you're going through, and they are here to help. The lawyer team of Ernie Drake III, Ryan J. Williams, and Summer Vignair, along with Morgan Daniels, have the experience and proven track record to give you that peace of mind. Give them a call today at 985-386-7600. That's 985-386-7600 to schedule a free consultation at their brand new office located in historic downtown Ponchatoula. They're also doing a special, the AYS special. If you're refinancing or closing on a home in Southeast Louisiana, request the Drake Title Company to handle your closing. If you mention Blake Ruffino and AYS, you're going to receive a $400 discount on title fees. Again, give them a call at 985-386-7600. Let them know that Blake Ruffino sent you on. Guys, you might know my good friend Carol Foss and all the great service that he provides over at State Farm. He is your good neighbor after all. But did you know State Farm has surprisingly great rates as well? Along with the great neighbor service, State Farm agent Carol Foss has surprisingly great rates for everyone inside the state of Louisiana. So call him today at 985-395-4300, 985-395-4300 for all of those surprisingly great rates on auto, home, and life insurance needs. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, and individual premiums will vary by customer. All applicants subject to the State Farm underwriting requirements. Okay. Dr. Butler says BK is not on the hot seat, and that's a fact. I don't think that he is either. Carver says if Chris Hilton and Brown are healthy, that will help the running game. They can take the top off the defense, which means lighter boxes. Carvis, here's the problem that you do have there that you could counteract with that. You had light boxes a season ago. There were a lot of times that you ran into 5-6 man boxes a season ago and you couldn't get 3 yards. So I do agree with you, but they got to protect for Garrett to get the ball down the field too. I'm telling you, LSU offensively, again, I feel very confident that I can make the argument that LSU offensively, from an explosiveness level, with Garrett, the receivers, everything in between, could be the best unit in the SEC. It ain't going to matter if you can't protect him. It will not matter because Garrett does not like getting hit either. Corey Rogers says field position is everything. It helps not being pinned inside the 20. Barryon is going to be huge for us with that. He will. He will. He very much will. And for more reasons than punt returns. You know, tell him to run a fade route. Tell him to run the fade route, and we'll see. I do think I'm going to punt on this. We went a little long on the offensive breakdown. I'm going to punt on the around your SEC. We'll just finish out with some questions here because it is 4th of July, and let's just go ahead and get on out of here. All right. Alexander Taylor says, I can see crack tosses and jet motions help the running game. They're not creative enough. You can't run crack tosses anymore. It's a 15-yard penalty. Let's see. Let's get to a couple more of these questions. Corey says, I think Jawan Johnson will be a pain in the ass for opposing teams in the red zone on fourth downs. Here's the problem with that. If he comes in, then everybody knows that he's running. I mean, he certainly could, but everybody knows that he's running. Willie King says, one small thing I think will help the offense. Nuss just needs to get into the play faster. I think with him understanding what he's saying will help a young O-line. Nobody is going to be bigger for that. I agree with you than Garrett. I completely agree with you there. All right. One more. We're getting out of here. Dr. Butler says with NIL, Tigers should have great players at all positions. I agree. You got a lot of great players now, and hopefully it will come foretold that they can do some special things. They got a lot of talent. Man, I just really hope they make a playoff run. Personally, let's go make the playoffs. That's what I'm hoping for. All right. See y'all. Y'all have a great 4th of July. We'll see y'all on Monday. Y'all have a great night. Peace.